Hello everybody, this is Immanuel again. I just wanted to continue on with this idea of different harmonizations, different chords that you can play. Now if you watched the previous videos concerning this, you already know that you can substitute major chords for minor chords. You can use major chords for even your passing tones. Okay. And I wanted to use that as a starting point. It's definitely not the end of it. As you know, there's a lot more chords out there that can be used. But today I want to talk about using fifths from the chords that you start with. And the nice thing about this is that usually if you start with a particular type of chord, you can use the fifth up from it and it will still sound pretty good. It'll still sound harmonically sound. Okay. In the little intro I played, essentially I took chords that we talked about before and I just used the fifth. Instead of using a C, I used a G. Okay. Now what happens there is you're actually playing a ninth chord. You're leaving out the 3 though. Okay. So you got the 5th, the 7th, and the major 7th. And the 9th, okay? But you're leaving out that 3. And you can put it back in if you want. And these, once you get an understanding of what you're doing, you can always put things in, take things out. Okay? Starting with those, with the majors that naturally occur, you got C, F, and G. Okay? With F, I can go with the C. Okay, same thing. Anytime you do this, you're creating a 9th chord. Okay. All right, now here I'm using a D with a G. You can do this. If you make a minor chord, actually in this case, it may sound a little bit more normal. You can do this if you want though. Typically with the G, I'll play an F chord actually. There's another major chord substitution you could do. Okay, and that actually creates an 11th kind of like a sustained chord because you're leaving out that 3rd once again. All right. Same thing with your minors. We started with the minor. Last time we talked about an F, but then you can also use a C. And I like this because an easy way to get there, instead of thinking of it that way, just take your bass note, drop it down 2. Okay. Same thing with the, now mind you, there's 2 ways to think about it. I use an F, and instead I'm using a 5th up. Okay. But then, since you know that, one easy way to do it is any minor chord, drop it down a whole step and play the major chord. And there you create a, now since we already had a 7th here, you're actually creating 11th right there, a minor 11th chord, okay? Because you have the 7th, the 9th, and the 11th of the chord. Same thing there. Same thing there. And like I said, you can always add notes back in. Okay, so I took that original idea, put the 3rd back in. Okay, same thing there. Okay, I'm sorry. And so, you're really playing around with those chords. And it's still, when you put the 3rd back in, it's still a 11th chord. Okay, it's just fuller because you put that 3rd in there. Okay, same thing with your passing tones. Got a third down, but you can go a fifth up. And that's also becomes like a minor third up. So that's another way to remember it. Before we use the B, we can go up to an F sharp or G flat. We use the D, but I can also go to the A. Sorry. And then this one is the one I actually did before. Instead of using a B flat, which is what I should have said before, I'm using the fifth up, which is that F. Typically, if you just want to make this chord sound a little more fuller, a little more interesting, you can just use that rule right away and just take whatever chord you're trying to do. Same thing really exists even with your minor chords. You can take the minor chord and then use a minor chord up a fifth. Okay. 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 That same rule applies. So just give it a try. Any chord that you have, try using that fifth rule. Even if it's more complicated than that, if you have like sevenths and ninths, just try it. See what happens when you change that up to the fifth up from there with the same bass. And I think you'll like the result. So once again, this is Immanuel just sharing what I know.